All right, guys, don't go anywhere. I'm going to start up the Q&A section of this stream so you guys can ask me questions and follow-ups here. So we're going to do that right now. So let's do this. I'm going to come back over here. And I am going to throw out the chat windows here. So here we go. First of all, feedback. Again, I'm making all of this stuff as I go. How was this episode for you guys? How was this episode? Did this kind of change the way you thought about fighting games? Is this something that that you kind of like made you guys go, maybe I am doing a little bit of this too much? Okay. Okay, so a lot of people seem like they really enjoyed this and really appreciated this. So again, any feedback that you guys have, I really appreciate it. And that's great. I'm really thank you guys for the feedback. And over here, it seems like a lot of people are saying that they had a lot of that it seemed to go really good. So let's see here. What do I want to do here as well? I also want to turn this off so that I may be able to do this. Okay. Cool. So Zero Striker, thank you. Man of Peerless Might, how to help a semi-casual who is a fan and plays constantly to get better at the game. Yeah, trust me, I'll be covering a lot of that stuff. Almost everything I'm going to teach is going to come from that beginner standpoint. Gazel says he liked it a lot, loved the passion and the prime examples. This was excellent, says Muddleway. Thank you, appreciate it. I'm going to, like I said, keep this up as much as I can. I'm really going to try my best. And I'm excited for next week because I know this was a little philosophical and psychological and all that stuff like that. But next week, I'm going to be talking about the neutral just to give you guys kind of a preview of what's happening next week. Where did I put the thing? Where did I put my iPad? Oh, there it is. Just to give you guys kind of a preview of what's coming. So like I said, that was kind of the syllabus. The next thing I'm starting with is the neutral. So that's where I'm going next. And the neutral is going to be all about movement. It's going to talk about footsies. It's going to talk about ranges and distances. And when I do the ranges and distances episode, I'm so excited for this episode because I'm finally going to show you guys the Ryu Guile Super Turbo match. And why in Super Turbo, Ryu versus Guile is one of the best matches in all of fighting game history, because that matchup is all about the ranges and distances, and it'll be the perfect way to show you guys why that's so important. And then there was another episode that I know some people in the chat have told me that they've been fans of. I'm going to do an episode on attack vectors and how you want to look at the screen, etc., etc. So that's all going to be neutral stuff. And like I said, that covers about like 4 or 5 episodes of neutral. And then I'm going to move to the pressure, the advantage situation, which I'm going to talk about frame data. That's where I'm going to teach about frame data, mix-ups. I'm going to teach about how you want to perceive a fighting game, what your goals are. If you're not playing a fighting game without any way to open up your opponent, you're playing it wrong. So that's where the mix-ups are going to come in. Combos are all going to be about hit confirms, about execution, about understanding combos as a science instead of a magic skill, etc., etc. This is all the stuff that is coming up soon. So I think that's going to be pretty exciting. I'm really, really happy about that. So yes, on YouTube, I will remind everybody on the YouTube as well about the schedule. And in fact, on the first attack episodes, etc., etc., I'm just probably going to post it into the descriptions directly. But I'm really excited about this. I'm really eager for all this. So let me see. Hang on a second here. Darth Protoman says, you mentioned many things that are very interesting and very educational. As always, I was very intrigued when you mentioned the part of trying to get into your opponent's head by always keeping them guessing, never predictable. Yeah, that's one of the hardest things. And when you play fighting games, every time someone asks me, how do I beat this? The answer is you can't, right? And to kind of expand on that, if there is a corner trap that, you know, you can't get out of, then it's clearly overpowered and the best thing in the game, right? And everybody would be doing it. There's always a way out of the corner trap. Nothing is ever broken or too cheap, and if it is, then it needs to be banned, right? That's the whole idea. Now, if the corner trap was something that there was one answer to escape, then it's not a corner trap. It's useless. It's not actually a trap, right? So the fact that you can't see everything as just one instance. So it's going to be a corner trap with like lumps and variations to it as the person evolves it to make it so that it's harder for you to get out. But if you can't get out, it's overpowered. But if you can always get out, it's useless. So that's why you have to have this understanding that it's basically about two people trying to outwit each other. If a fighting game is designed so that there's one answer for everything or that there is no answer, you have a bad fighting game. The fighting games are designed properly if there are many answers and many traps, and it's just a battle of wits at that point in time. That is where you have a good fighting game. Cobalt Scythe says, if you don't plan on covering, I think you should talk about tier lists in fighting games. Yeah, that's actually true. I personally think it's more harmful than anything. That's actually a really good point. I'll try to figure out a place to squeeze in. Ow, cat is scratching my knee. I will definitely try to talk about tier lists at some point in time. So, should I work on my strengths in terms of mind, body, and brain, or fix my weaknesses? Asks, it's yellow text. I can't see. The Kook EHT. Honestly, that would also depend on what game you're playing as well, because for something like Street Fighter V, the body is not going to benefit you as much. If you're playing a game like Guilty Gear, the body is going to help you a lot more. Every game that you play has different emphasis on those as well. So it's actually kind of a tricky question to ask. And again, that's one of the toughest thing about fighting games is there's really no absolutes. It's really hard to say. And it also depends on how weak your weaknesses are and how strong your strengths are. If you're like out of 10, a 7, 7, and a 4, you might want to buff one of your strengths up to get to a 9. But if you're at 9, 8, and a 5, then yeah, probably might want to buff up your 5. But again, it's one of those situations, depends on the game that you're playing, and depends on if you are capable of that, right? So while I do believe anyone can get good at any of those aspects, do I believe everyone can get to 10, 10, 10? No, that's like literally impossible. I mean, that's Sonic Fox, and I think only Sonic Fox, right? I don't think anybody else has ever, in my opinion, reached a level where I could rate them 10, 10, 10, except for Sonic Fox, because that guy is just ridiculous. Right? I don't expect anyone to get there, but I would say most of the top players are probably around 9, 9, 6. Like I would say probably if you were at around 25 points total. So if your average is 8, 8, 8, I think you are a top player. I think you can be a top player. If you are somewhere, and like I said, you can skew that anyway. So if you're 10, 10, 4, absolutely you can be a top player. Absolutely you can play. I've seen players that can get really high who have just complete ass for execution. I've seen people who can get top players who are just mix-up gods, and they just get to that point because they're just so good at instinct and stuff that they just get to that point. That's the thing, is like as long as you have a good balance of it. But if you're, like I said, if you're at like 7, 7, 4, you might want to build one of those things up to be stronger. But if you're at like 9, 8, 4, then build up the 4 at that point in time. Yes, you are right, Cobalt Scythe. You are, Cobalt Scythe, you are right. Sonic Fox goes by they now. That is a bad habit of mine. I have to keep getting through that. So that's something that I have to apologize to Sonic Fox. I think they are one of the best fighting game players of all time. I think they are very unique. I think they are very unique and a very special person. But again, do I think Sonic Fox was born into the 10, 10, 10? No, absolutely not. The reason why Sonic Fox is so good is because they have an older brother who was a top player in Dead or Alive and made Sonic Fox play fighting games with him like for his entire, since Sonic Fox was like 3 years old. He's basically been playing fighting games. They've basically been playing fighting games since they were a child. And so they have really honed that brain to this talent, right? And so that's why Sonic Fox is where they are. So Gentle Snow, allowing criticism. There's a lot of I'm going to be telling about, you're going to hear Lady We Cover preamble. Yes, you're right. But lesson viewers already want to learn, hit them with that knowledge. Good call. I will try to make sure I do that. The first slide had a typo. Did it? Let me see here. You're talking about the preface? The preface one? Let's see. My preface, philosophical look at fighting games. My approach to teaching fighting games will always be more philosophical than direct. Fighting games are largely about mindset and human psychology. Focus is on how to think when playing. Okay, yeah. Focus is on... the focus is on how to think when playing. I think that's right. Okay. It as at instead of as. What? First things first. Okay. There are no shortcuts. Fighting games are hard. Patience and practice are rewarded. Fighting games can be very frustrating. However, the rewards of when fighting games start to click is unlike any other. It's just weird grammar. Can you see the slide? Pow! So here we go. So here's first things first. Is it this one here? What's a good way to figure out which type you are for body, mind, and heart? Asks Choy Sauce. That's a great question. One of the best ways to figure that out is which one are you having the most fun with? Like a player like me gets this rush of endorphins when I land some sick combo on people, or just when I'm like, you know what, it's time to DP now, and I DP a leg like in Super Turbo. I feel like a god, right? And that's important. A person like David, for example, gets that endorphin euphoric rush when he knows the frame data situation and steals a turn and is like, I totally stole that turn from you because I knew what you were going to do, etc., etc. So David is clearly a mind and heart kind of player. I'm a heart and body kind of player, etc., etc. What gets you going? You know, that's basically how you figure out what kind of player you are. That is the best way. Whenever you do something and it works, what gives you the most satisfaction? That's a good way to figure out what it is. So Bosun Joe says, I think putting yourself in a box can stunt your growth. Yes, absolutely, that is true. But at the same time, so like I said, I do believe that everybody needs to improve in all the different areas. But the reason why I want you to think about which area you start in is because that's going to affect how you perceive and understand a lot of the lessons that I'm going to tell you. I'm not saying to ignore the areas that you're not good at. I just wanted to paint how you approach a lot of the things to learn. I just wanted to help understand, because what I'm trying to do is reduce a lot of the frustrations of trying to learn these things. If you know you're not a heart player, footsies are going to come a little bit harder to you than it is for other people. And if you already know you're not a heart player, you'll kind of know where to focus and where to pay attention and and ask more questions, etc., etc. I think that's really, really important. So there you go. Let me clear this away and bring back the chat here. My friend is like 454. How can I help him get to like 888 or so? Man of Peerless Might, that's a tough question. That's going to depend on your friend. It's going to depend on your friend. He's going to need to want it. One of the important things about fighting games, obviously this was designed for people who want to learn. If you're watching this to try to get one of your friends to learn, make sure your friend wants to learn. It's just very important. Don't force anybody into fighting games that don't want to play it, right? If they want to stay at a 454, and that's all they ever care to be, then that's all they're ever going to be is a 454. You know, you really have to make sure that the player themselves want to get to that 888. That's very important. That's very, very important. Let's see. Let's see. What else here? Cat. Yes. Jasmine. Hi. We all do it, but we need to encourage it. That's how I feel. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you, Boats and Joes. I do believe that you shouldn't put yourself into the box, but I want you to at least figure out where your strengths lie, and just to think about that concept of heart, body, and mind, so you kind of know, where your strengths and stuff lie. So when is it your turn? I never freaking know. I just attack all the damn time, says Dorth Protoman. Yes, that is coming up in one of the episodes. That is, like I said, during the phases, there's the neutral, and the next one is pressure and advantage. Pressure and advantage, that's what it's all going to be about. It's all going to be about when's it your turn, when's it their turn, etc., etc. So it might not be until maybe 2 months later that I get to it, but it is definitely coming up. That is the focus of the pressure advantage situation, is understanding the turns. Understanding the turns there. If you guys have any other question, make sure you tap at jchensor in the chat here. Nice. Good job, Duck Helmet. Good job. Arsene had a guy that tried to pressure people to level up in a certain game, and that wore out his welcome fast. Yeah, exactly. Should I be using a ball top or a bat stick? Anything. Whatever you feel is more comfortable, whatever it works for you. I think that's very, cross-ups, hitboxes, maybe neither. Maybe you play on a pad. Just whatever you feel most comfortable with is what you should go for. At this point in time, controllers are really open for anything. Anybody can use any controller. We've seen people play guitar controllers. We've seen people use steering wheel controllers. We've seen people use body pillow controllers, keyboards. Anything works these days. So there is no correct answer. That's whatever you feel the most helpful. Fat Guy 2 says, I spend most of my time in training mode practicing execution, and then it doesn't work in a match, and I feel like I wasted my time. It's an endless loop. Should I stop practicing? No, Fat Guy. So this is actually an interesting question, and will be covered during the execution section a lot. But just as a precursor to this, just to kind of explain to people how you kind of get over that is... when you practice your execution, you might not be practicing the right execution, right? You're practicing your execution from a jump in. And very rarely are you going to land a jump in. It's like, let's talk about Street Fighter V, right? If you want to practice your execution, you need to practice off of a meaty standing strong, or a meaty crouching strong, or something like that. Practice off of a crouching light kick. You want to practice the actual stuff that you are going to be able to use in a fight. How do you know what's actually going to be usable in a fight? Well, we'll get to that a little bit. That's about mix-ups and opening up your opponent and understanding how to open them up. The other thing, too, is when you practice stuff in training mode, you're practicing it in a very sterile environment. You know exactly what you're trying to do. You have time to be like, okay, here we go. Combo. And then you can land the combo, right? What you want to do in training mode is dash around, jump around, throw an uppercut, and then try the combo. Mess your brain up so you're not thinking about the combo and then try the combo. Because in an actual match, you're going to need that kind of instant recall in order to land the combo. So that is something very, very important. So... what character controller game will make fighting games easy to learn? Honestly, the PlayStation 4 controller will be the easiest way to make fighting games to learn, because you already have one if you have a PlayStation 4, and you don't need to spend money on a joystick. PlayStation 4 is always going to be the easiest one. What game? That's a tough one. That one's just going to be based on whatever you feel like. Grand Blue Fantasy Versus sounds like a very good starting point. Samurai Showdown is a very good starting point. Street Fighter V is a little harder, but you'll have the competition, which is really important. Character, depends on the game, really depends on the game, but you want to find a character that suits your style. Depends on the person. So that's kind of the answer over there. Let's see here. Yes, someone has made a body pillow controller before. I don't know how they did it. They put wires in a body controller and it worked. It's crazy. It's crazy, and it definitely worked. Let's So there you go. Practicing on a CPU is interesting, is a good way to learn combos. Yeah, I've recommended to people to turning on the CPU in training mode to a lower level. Don't put them on the highest level because then they're just stupid. But put them like on middle level and then just learn how to land your combos at the spur of the moment. That's how I learned Dragon Ball Fighters when I first started playing that game, and it helped a lot, actually. Hitoshura says, so Fat Guy 2, I want to address that really quick. I play the AI a lot, probably too much. Playing against the computer is dangerous because it turns fighting games into a one-player game, and it does that thing where you're like, okay, well, here's the solution to that problem, right? And so you're like, okay, when the computer jumps at me, here's my sick-ass combo that I can do as an anti-air combo. But then when you fight against the human, they jump at you, and you're like, I wasn't ready for that jump. And you'll never get to land that kind of thing, right? And so you're always like, well, this is but the thing is, you don't realize that your opponent is baiting you into a ground game so that you don't see the jump coming, and that's why you don't get your anti-air. Playing against the AI too much can build you into this one-player pattern finding, here's my answer kind of mindset. And that's the most dangerous part. Playing against the computer is good for body work, basically, is learning how to land combos at a moment's notice and just learning to recognize what you do want to do in certain situations. But then applying it is not going to work against other people. That's the hard part right there. Hitoshura91 asks, in a lot of games I play, I tend to suffer in defense during wake up. What tips do you suggest to improve defense? I will definitely have an episode all about defense. The number one solution that I can give you is don't panic. Everybody has a tendency to panic when they get knocked down. And then 2, understand what the actual options are when you get knocked down. Really, really understand the options, right? Know what your opponent wants to do. So if you get knocked down in Street Fighter V, you got to deal with the shimmy. Understand the RPS game, the Street Fighter V RPS, attack, throw, shimmy. Understand that game. That makes your wake-up game that much less panic-inducing. If you're Tekken, understand the advantages of side rolling, of backsliding, of doing nothing, of doing a spring kick, etc., etc. Understand how the opponent can defeat all of those options. I don't. So when I get knocked down in Tekken, I die. So I have that problem. I panic when I get knocked down because I don't mix it up well enough. I don't understand the Okazeme game very well in Tekken, so I die. But I understand that. So I've never said like, oh, when I get knocked down in Tekken, this is impossible. It's more just like, man, see, again, bad excuses, poor excuses. Bad excuses, it's too hard to get up when you get knocked down in Tekken. Good excuse, it's my fault that I don't understand Okazeme well enough, and I should understand it better. And so that's one of the things that I've got to learn. Doesn't fighting the CPU teach you bad habits? It can unless you know what you're getting into when you go and play them. If you understand what it is supposed to teach you and what it shouldn't be teaching you. So it can teach you bad habits unless you go in with the right mindset. You are the king of walking away when I get the advantage, says Backlogathon. Yes, I do that a lot too. I knock people down and then I just let them get up a lot of the times, and I don't press my advantage sometimes. And, those are just one of the things that you got to fix. It's just kind of the fear factor that kicks in there. So, Tekken doesn't even tell you how to stand up. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to stand up in Tekken, so it is a little more difficult to figure out. It's tricky. It's very, very tricky. So, are there any other questions that people have for me, or any feedback on this first episode on First Attack? And if you guys did enjoy First Attack a lot, if you guys would be so kind to let me know in some tweets as well that I can retweet to people so that people can see, oh my gosh, I watched that first episode. It was really good and very helpful. And I can retweet that and, kind of try to promote to other people that it's good and that it's working. So There you go. Right, and Hobotech 64, you just backdash in Street Fighter 4, and that's the thing, right? So that's kind of where my complaints of Street Fighter 5 come in about having to respect frame data, is that they didn't give you an out for it. Now, if people called you out on the backdash, they could punish you for it, or if they have an option select for it. But that meant their option select had to start with a crouching light punch, right? So if you did get hit by a combo, it wasn't as big damage, etc. They couldn't get the same kind of combos they could get. But you always had an option to disrespect the frame data. Backdash was always available for you to disrespect the frame data. In Street Fighter V, there is no way to disrespect frame data outside of certain EX moves. And if you're wrong, you just completely get obliterated by crush counter combos. And that's a problem, in my opinion. And I really wish Street Fighter V would add some way to disrespect frame data, but at this point it's never going to happen. You can tell that the way the game is designed is that they really want to make sure that the frame data is gospel. And so that's just one of the things that you have to accept as Street Fighter V. Let's see here. Can you explain meaties? Yeah, meaties are just basically attacks that land on your opponent the instant they get up. When a character gets up from the floor, they transition from being invincible to all of a sudden they can be hit or they can block. So that transition is literally one frame. You go from invincible to hittable. Invincible to hittable. A meaty attack is something that puts an active frame on the opponent the very first frame they get up. That's a meaty attack. So basically, it's guaranteed that the opponent has to block that move they get as soon as they get up, unless they have an invincible move on frame 1 or a move that has armor on frame 1. That's what a meaty attack is. Now, there are different kinds of applications of meaties. You can just apply meaties just to make sure that you're giving them the proper pressure, or you can apply meaties if you have multiple active frames. If you have multiple active frames, 1, 2, 3 active frames, and you get this much hit stun off of the first active frame, well, if you hit with the second active frame, you get this much hit stun, and if you hit with the third active frame, you get this much hit stun. And so if you actually look at that little difference right there, that means if you hit with the last active frame, you get extra hit stun, which makes your move plus, which means you get better combos. So that's a different practical application of meaties. But in the generic sense, meaties mean you're landing a hit on an opponent on the very first frame that they transition from being invincible to being vulnerable, basically. A frame is 1/60th of a second. It's a measurement of time in fighting games. All games show, just like on TV, you know, you watch a TV at 60 frames per second, you know, frames are a measurement of time. And basically every frame, you know, if a move animates, it'll stay in one pose for 2 frames, then another pose for 2 frames, and another pose for 2 frames. Those are all frames of animation, 60 frames per second. And so when you transition between one frame and the other, that's 1/60th of a second, transitioning from being invincible to being vulnerable, basically. Gentle Snow says, one frustration when you're newer is thinking everything ought to be reactable if I was good enough. Will you cover the area between what's reactable and what's a read? Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be part of the execution stuff, because reaction is a lot of execution as well. And that's really, really tough stuff like that. Are any modern games anything other than 60 frames per second? Not that I know of. Pretty sure they're all 60 frames per second. If you enjoy jchensor and have Amazon Prime, please consider using the monthly free sub for jchensor at twitch.amazon.com/prime, or you can just mouse over right over here and there'll be a blue button that says gift sub ready. I'm not gift sub, but sub ready, and then you can use that to sub. So no problem, Boats and Joes, please. So one of the toughest things about teaching fighting games, and one of the areas that I do feel like I'm actually one of the best at, but even I'm not perfect at this, I've always called this the genius professor syndrome, where you're so good at fighting games that when you teach fighting games, you say things that you feel like everybody should know that they don't necessarily know, right? So I'm sitting here talking about frames like, everybody knows what frames are, you know, and I forget. So, Boats and Joes, the role that you're playing right now and, asking me those questions is very, very important. And I'm glad you're doing it because that's going to be very useful for me going forward in a lot of these episodes. Those are questions that I need to make sure that I answer because a lot of times I will be saying things that are a little bit, dude, it's the way that it works. I had a college professor who there was a linear algebra problem that I didn't know how to solve. And I was like, can you show me how to solve it? One, he could barely speak English. He had a really thick Chinese accent, okay? So when he was trying to say it's a linear transformation from alpha to beta, he said, it's a linear transformation of alpha to beta. And I was like, what the heck are you even talking about? One, right? Secondly, I asked him, I don't get this homework problem. Can you show me how this works? And he said, okay. And so he drew the little matrix on there, 4x4 linear algebra matrix on the chalkboard. And he was like, okay, looking at this, well, it's obviously equal to 0. That was how he taught me how to do that problem. Literally, that's what he did. And I sat there and I was like, WTF? Like, what the hell just happened here? And it was like literally the worst thing ever. And so genius professors are very dangerous. And so I try my best to make sure to be the opposite of the genius professor. So who do I think are some of the best teachers in the fighting game community? There are a lot of good teachers out there. I do think Pat the Flip is a really good teacher out there. But to be honest with you, anybody who's doing stuff, Zaffarino, anybody who's trying to teach fighting games, they're all good because they'll all hit different audiences and they'll all hit different people. Like Sejam's a good teacher, although I do think Sejam falls more under the genius professor syndrome than most teachers out there. And if you see this clip, Steven, it's not meant to be an insult. You're just so naturally goddamn talented at fighting games that everything comes super easy to you. I really do feel like it's harder for him to relate to how difficult it is to learn fighting games in a lot of ways. Rip is a good teacher. Juicebox is a great teacher. Automatic is really, really good. So there's a lot of good players out there who are good teachers at fighting games. So, but yeah, that's kind of a good thing. So Boats and Joes, don't ever feel bad for asking me those little general questions like that to make sure that I explain those things to people because that's very useful, very helpful, and it's stuff that I need to answer. And Jasmine knows that I'm looking in this direction again, so she's just going to stand right here in front of me. Right, Jasmine? Oh, nose boop. Nose boop. Again, also, you can contact me on the Chensor Dynasty Discord as well. So if you go to that link that you see on the screen right there, you can join the Chensor Dynasty Discord. A lot of good people giving information. Do I like my teacher voice? I feel like I was speaking a little too quickly, though it kind of is an interesting tactic because I can speak quickly in some sections, but then every time I slow down, it creates an emphasis all of a sudden that triggers people to really start paying attention to the stuff I'm saying. And then I can go back to the quick stuff and then it kind of changes. It's very important, in my opinion, to have fluctuations in the way that you speak. If you speak at the same speed, the same way too often, too much, people tend to lose you. And then all of a sudden, if you're like, what the hell? And you just throw in these weird dynamic changes, it's kind of one of the things that I focus on when I do commentary, for example. That's why sometimes I'm like, oh my God, this is going crazy. And then, I can't believe it. Oh my God, this is crazy. But here's the thing. What's interesting about that strategy, that, oh my God, like that kind of things really helps generate the different kind of help you it helps keep the variety going there. Am I going to explain footsies and neutrals? That's all coming up in the next 2 episodes, Afro Slice. So don't worry. Don't worry, that is all coming. There's the next ones coming up. Do you think there are transferable skills from regular video games to fighting games? Absolutely. In fact, the way that I tried to teach footsies in a previous First Attack was by using Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. The way I taught one of my friends how to play fighting games was comparing it to Dark Souls, because that was a game that she really enjoyed playing. She loved Dark Souls, and so I used Dark Souls to explain how to play fighting games. Fighting games absolutely can take a bunch of skills from a lot of different fighting games. In fact, when I explain neutral and footsies, I will probably use some of those examples anyway. So there you go. Okay. Can I help Erroneous with something? Yes. What is it that Chensor Senpai can help you with? What is it that I can help you with, Erroneous? Jasmine has active frames. That is definitely true. Chensor Sensei. There you go, Sensei. Sensei, not Senpai. RTS can mirror the fog of war of neutral games. Yeah, very much. A lot of those games can do that. Sifu. There you go. I like that. Chensor Sifu. Is Thursday going to be the normal schedule for First Attack going forward? Yes. Backlogathon. That is the way it's going to work. If you guys don't know what the schedule is going to be, let me type that out for you guys again, because I had to reboot my computer and I lost it. So let's do this here. Shrink this down like this. Let's add source. Let's screen capture, window capture, notepad, untitled notepad. Here we go. So the schedule for the Chensor Dynasty is going to be, let's do this, Mondays. Oh God, that font is really small. Let's grow the font here to like 20, just so you can see this. Mondays are going to start with Chen Reaction plus Ask jchensor, and then continue with beginner lobbies, like I used to do with Guilty Gear and stuff. I might do for like Soul Calibur or Tekken or Grand Blue, etc., etc. Tuesdays, there will be no stream on my channel, because this is the Tuesday show on twitch.tv/UltraChenTV. So there will be no streams on my channel there. Wednesday will be once again Chen Reaction plus Ask jchensor to start the day, and then followed immediately by Learn to Fight or Learning to Fight, etc., etc., where I play games like ranked Tekken 7, or I play Street Fighter 5 against other players in lobbies. It's basically for me to learn how to play fighting games, because I need to play fighting games. Thursdays are going to be Chen Reaction again, plus Ask jchensor, but then also is going to be First Attack, as well as, if I have the opportunity, the FGC history episodes. So if I ever get into the history of the alpha games like I did to the Street Fighter 2 games, that'll be there. If I can ever get Visant onto my stream via Skype or something, it'll be on Thursday. So First Attack, FGC history will be on Thursdays. And then Friday will be, they will have no Chen Reaction and Ask jchensor. But instead, those days will be the Chensor Dojos. So these are where I set up a lobby in Sam Show, in Street Fighter, in a game that I feel comfortable giving advice to, and have players play against each other and have little mini tournaments for silver ranked players, for players trying to get good at fighting games, have them play against each other and offer feedback to them as they play. This has actually been a very, very successful stream. This has actually been a very successful stream. I have seen crazy improvements on players just from having them play in the Chensor dojo and me giving them advice. So that's really exciting. Now on nights, I will still be doing Zelda and chill. As long as I still haven't found all the shrines in Breath of the Wild. This will probably change to Final Fantasy 15 and chill after I finish Zelda, etc., etc. I'll be playing lots of Tekken still on stream, which I plan to do tonight. I will be playing Final Fantasy Record Keeper on streams. I will be playing, Random Game James, where I just play random games. Indie Army Now, in which I play indie games. I'll be doing a lot. I will try to be playing Tetris Practice, whether it's 99, NES, or TGM, etc., etc. So nights, I'll still be doing a lot of those things. Not Skype, Discord. Yes, you're right, Discord. Then on weekends, potentially, I will be doing karaoke streams, which, speaking of, this weekend will be a karaoke stream. I'm doing a special birthday karaoke stream this weekend. We'll most likely be doing Rock Band stuff and also probably be doing some YouTube videos and stuff like that, just to have fun with that. And then also on weekends, if I have the chance, I'll bring back some of the Phoenix Wright voice acting streams as well, and just like have days where I just do like an 8-hour Phoenix Wright section. I have heard of Twitch Sings. I don't like it very much, Soul Siphon, because the last time I tried it, it came out as very delayed and I was very disappointed. The people who were watching the stream heard my voice very delayed from the music and it came out really bad. So I'm gonna do it different ways. I thought the YouTube and the Rock Band versions were definitely more enjoyable, in my opinion. But these are the streams that I have here as well. Also, for the beginner lobbies, I also have the option for doing FGC Rewind, which is me doing analysis on events over the weekend that I didn't get to watch. So I didn't actually get to see some of the footage, and people are like, dude, James, you totally need to watch the Soul Calibur Top 8 from this event. And I will go and watch FGC Rewind and watch some of those matches and, kind of analyze them while I go, kind of like I did at the beginning of this year, where I watched a bunch of old footage and just kind of analyzed them as we went. So that's another thing that'll show up a lot as well. Unchenzords are still a thing. Unchenzords are definitely still coming. In fact, one is coming very soon. If I feel ready, I might even do one tomorrow. Otherwise, I'll probably do one next week. But Unchenzords, where I turn off my filter and I go completely not safe for work and get to be as mad as possible about topics, that's Unchenzord. So it's like a Chen reaction, but instead of me, talking about things and looking for, trying to see both sides of everything and stuff. No, Unchenzord is me just being mad about things and being very one-sided and being very angry and being very profane about it. So that's Unchenzord. And that will be coming up too. Yes, it's the Chen reaction that embraces Satsue no Hado and has no interest in being unbiased. Has no interest in being unbiased, basically. So that's what Unchenzord. And if I do an Unchenzord, it will replace the Chen reaction and ask jchensor for that day, and then it will move on to something else. So for example, on Wednesday, if I did that, it would be Unchenzord to start and then switch to the learning to fight, etc., etc. Yeah. So that's the way that goes. But that's kind of the schedule now. If there's anything else that people were interested in, I got a lot of feedback on my YouTube when I put up my schedule that people would actually really love to have me do Unity learning streams. I don't know how I'm going to squeeze this in. Maybe I'll have to do this on weekends and stuff. Maybe that'll be part of the weekend stuff where basically I go through Unity learning courses on the actual Unity site. Unity is a programming language, a programming engine for creating video games. And it's something that I kind of wanted to learn. And so I might actually do Unity learning streams on the corner. Oh yeah, I would create one. I'm probably gonna create one from scratch, even if I wanted to. So that's one idea there, the Unity learning streams. Other things people have told me they want to see me do are Ring Fit adventure streams. I haven't been playing it recently because I've been so busy, but do I offer private lessons for games or commentary? That's more of an UltraChenTV thing. We will definitely be doing commentary lessons for UltraChenTV, so definitely keep an eye on UltraChenTV stuff. And then some people have also said that they just want to see cat streams, where if I'm ever just sitting there and a cat is lying on my chest and sleeping, I can just stream and talk and just hang out and stuff like that. So you want the comment about the attack on your personal Twitter? Which comment, Darth Proto Man? I can't remember which one you were talking about. Yeah, I wouldn't use the universal fighting engine anyway. I would actually be really interested in creating my own fighting game engine from scratch. Because of the way that I have ideas on how I would want to create fighting games, which probably wouldn't work, but you know, it would be interesting to try to do stuff like that and then eventually compare notes to like Mike Z and see how he does and all things like that. So, but yeah, I would almost rather create one from scratch to see how it works. So, oh yeah. I'm not doing a fighting game right away, King 9999. 100% no. In fact, my dream game that I created wouldn't even be a fighting game. There's a game that I really have wanted to create my whole entire life, and it wouldn't even be a fighting game. So I would probably just end up creating a bunch of like little different things here and there. I would probably first try to create Tetris or something like that. What would be interesting is I would first try to create a game of Tetris that plays a certain way, but then also has the ability for you to select what comes next and to pause it and to do all sorts of things and has undos so that I can actually use that to teach Tetris. Because then I could be like, see, if you place this block here and the resulting landscape looks like this is a bad idea. Undo. Here's what you want to do instead, you know, etc., etc. That's kind of a dream of mine to do. Yeah, so a lot of different things in mind. I definitely won't be starting big. I definitely will not be starting. I mean, if anything, I'll just create asteroids or space invaders or something like that, you know, something simple like that. Cat-themed Tetris, Meowtris. You want me to create Meowtris? Jasmine is looking at me like I'm crazy. But yeah, there you go. That's kind of the plan for 2020. So, all right. So that's the schedule right there. I'm gonna save this document here, Chensor Dynasty schedule, so I can easily copy and paste this somewhere. Let me change the font back to size 10. There we go. Let's close this. And now, sorry. There we go. So there you go. That's probably it for me for this stream here. What I want to do next then is, God, you are so... I love her profile. Jasmine has like one of the most beautiful cat profiles, I think, that I've seen. In fact, the very first time I saw Jasmine was a photo of her in Pet Finder, and it had her profile. And that's what made me fall in love with Jasmine right away. I saw that and I was like, my ex sent that to me because Jasmine is part Burmese, and my ex really wanted Burmese cats, so she sent me a photo of Jasmine on Pet Finder, and I was like, wow, that is a really beautiful cat. And then when we went to the pet store where they were displaying the pets, I was like, can I see Jasmine? And the lady's like, yeah, sure, come this way. And then opened up the cage. Jasmine's just lying there. I started rubbing Jasmine's side, and then she immediately licked my hand, and I was like, I want this cat. I want this cat. Then it turned out she wasn't that affectionate when I got her, and I was kind of sad. But over the years that I've had her, it took about a year and a half. Now Jasmine is like the absolute most affectionate cat. And it's so great. It's so great. Oh, kitty, 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 kitty. She's like, I'm not that affectionate. Ew, get me out of here. But yeah. I think trying to squeeze how to play fighting games in a 10-minute video would be an interesting creative exercise commercial for the series. Yeah, that would be an interesting thing to do. You're right. You're right. That would be an interesting thing to do. But in any case, I might try to do some Teppen later tonight, Anime Lover. I haven't been playing any ranked matches because I wanted to save that all for the stream. And so I really want to show off my new Forrigan deck, which I actually think is super good right now. I'm actually really happy with the Forrigan deck that I'm playing right now. I think it's really good, and it's still super fun. So I'm excited to take it out into the wild and test it out and see how it works. So maybe a Teppen stream later on. But there you go. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. If you guys do appreciate this content, like I said, the goal here is to try to get to 250 subs by the time I get to about June-ish time. That's kind of the hope. Because if I can start getting 250 subs, that already starts giving me a significant chunk of income. Not huge, still very low amount, but it's enough to help hopefully offset myself from losing money every month at this point in time. And if I could get to even 500 subs by the end of the year, shout outs to Wobaobu. Wobaobu. It sounds like a Chinese name. Oh no, that's Tap2GG giving a gift sub. Thank you, Tap2GG. And thank you for the 300 bits from Vamp Streak. Thank you. Appreciate it so much. Appreciate it so much to all of you. But yeah, if I could even get to 500 subs, that means that I can start earning, again, just full disclosure, that would get me above 1K a month for streams and for doing streams. So if I could just get to 500 subs, that would actually help a lot already. So like I said, 250 subs is not quite enough to get over 1K. Oh, shout outs to the Fungi Wizard for hosting me, but I'm about to end the stream. I apologize. I've thought about doing subscriber tournaments. I just feel like that, I don't know, like I probably will do some subscriber giveaways though, for some cool stuff. Like I have one of these to give away, this cool keychain over here. This is a keychain that was created by Replicade over here. Very, very cool keychain. I have one to give away, and you can see it lights up if you press on it. It's very, very cool. But, yeah, I know. Jasmine saw it, was like, what is that? I must touch it. So I have some giveaways. I've had stuff that I had planned to give away for the past 2 years and have just been too lazy. I'll be honest with you, doing giveaways is expensive. I did a giveaway one time for like 5 items, and it cost me like $70 to $100 to ship it to everybody because I got a lot of European winners and I didn't want to screw the European audience out there. So it actually cost me like $100 to ship a lot of that stuff. It was pretty crazy, but we'll see what we can do. We'll see what we can do. So in any case, thanks guys for tuning in. Thanks guys for watching. I'm going to feed the cats before we go. This is everyone's favorite part of the stream. Let's actually feed some kitties over here. Because it is time for them to eat. And you can see Jasmine knows when I touch the... Oh, no. Now she's walked back over here. Here's a walk back. Hi, Jasmine. Are you ready for food? You're just staring at me. Watch her whip her head when I make kissing noises. Oh, yeah, there you go. I never do cook food for my cats, Shigan. I actually don't. Although, maybe I should. Ow! Ow, God. That was a weird old man leg problem right there. Ugh. All right, Jasmine. All right, Nathan, let's get some food. I need some food, too, because I'm actually kind of starving right now. I had a very small lunch today. So, by the way, I said both of my cats are half Burmese. The other half of my cats are shark, because you'll see them circling like sharks over here. They're half Burmese, half shark. And this is what they do. Look at them, it's just circling, ready for their prey. And then I used to stream off of my laptop, so I put my camera up here like this and then made Jasmine do this cute thing, which is this. Oh, good girl. Good girl. So then she would put her face into the camera, but I don't have that streaming set up anymore. There you go. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for hanging out. And enjoy some cats eating food over here. Let's do this as well. Oh. First, what? I'm already zoomed all the way. Oh. That's right, I have to zoom in. That's what it is. Here you go. Oh, hey, UltraChenTV LV. Welcome to the Chen Dynasty. Digital zoom for the win. Yay. Not very good, but there you go. There you go. Cats eating their food. Jasmine on the left, Nathan on the right. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you guys enjoyed this and tune in. Hopefully, this is just a C920 Logitech, so it's not very good, but it's functional, right? It's functional. But thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you found this useful. And like I said, let me know on Twitter if you guys enjoyed this or not, so I can retweet the testimonials. And I might be back for Tepin later on tonight. Have a good night. Peace out, and take care.